Be an entrepreneur is tough. It's very tough. What gave you the motivation?
I wanted my kids to have the kind of the best education. And I think I always wanted to be an entrepreneur and sort of almost prove that I could do it rather than just sort of operating, I guess, in the big corporate. We weren't paying ourselves any money initially, so you've got a sort of a business burn rate, and then you've got your own personal burn rate. We were using our savings and things too. When we went through COVID and suddenly like the world fell apart, we had a sort of a clinic business, and that basically shut overnight, so nobody could go and visit it. We got no revenue. All of our medical customers that we supplied, all of those were shut.
What has been the impact of being a founder in your private life?
I think the family definitely sort of suffers. There are times you have to do stuff on the weekends or in the evenings, and it's just a part and parcel really of a sort of a founder's life. There are those trade-offs.
Hi Nick, thank you so much for coming to the Life of a Founder. I'm very appreciating your time and coming today with me and talk about your experience. You have a lot being an entrepreneur. How's it going?
Good, thanks, Max. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. A very short intro to the life of a founder. I decided to launch this podcast as I do believe, and I think many share with me the same opinion that behind any founder is an absolute story, and any story is different from each other. This is why we invite founders, entrepreneurs coming and talking about not only the startup, but actually what is behind the startup, which is the most important thing by far, at least in my opinion. So as we start, would you like to paint a picture to me of where you come from and how everything started in your life in terms of business?
Sure. I mean, I studied engineering at university, and I very quickly sort of found that I did some kind of internships in the summers, and I felt like I wanted to be on the more business generative side, the people side, rather than the kind of machine manufacturing side of the business. So I took up a position as a sales representative at Procter and Gamble, and then I spent kind of about 17 years in that company in various positions around the world in sales and marketing. My last position was running our sort of global hair care business on the commercial side out of Geneva, and brands like Head and Shoulders, Pantene, things like that. And I think I always wanted to be a kind of an entrepreneur and sort of almost prove that I could do it rather than just sort of operating, I guess, in the big corporate. And an opportunity came along. It was actually my mother-in-law's sort of business, and she had a kind of some niche technology she was kind of working with elite athletes and folks that are in the whole area of injury prevention. And it was just a piece of tech that would work well for them, work well for the army. And I just felt like this is something that we should really launch to the consumer market, because I knew that better. And so I effectively we launched a new brand and launched the technology. I got Usain Bolt to come along and be a partner to try to kind of help. He liked the technology, but it was all about him post the Olympics, about how he can help sort of build businesses and those kind of things. And so we started on that journey. The brand was called Enator, and we launched in 2,000 or 3,000 stores around the world, but we didn't quite get it right. The price point was a bit too high. The proposition wasn't quite right. The marketing we didn't get quite right, so we ended up kind of pulling all that back, and then we've launched the last couple of years on a direct to consumer model, and now the business is really flying.
That's great. I mean, it's so fascinating when you start. You need to very much assess everything: the pricing, the market, the targeting, the people you're selling, the companies you're selling to. It's fascinating. It's but it's so critical, especially when you just stay there and starting, right? Many founders I talk to, they very much are worried the day when they need to launch the product because you don't know if the price is right. Even you don't even know if it makes sense to price your service or just give it for free at the very beginning and see what is the feedback. So it takes time and it's an absolutely effort. But what gave to you the motivation? Because I mean, be an entrepreneur is tough. It's very tough.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of things. One was the wanting to be an entrepreneur and sort of prove that I could do it, be my own boss, and those kind of things. There was a more also, I wanted my kids to have the kind of the best education and wanted to pay for private schools and things like that. And so that was also a motivator. I felt like I could probably make more money doing it on my own than working in a big corporate. And so, yeah, that was also sort of, I guess, a slightly more selfish motivation. But yeah,
You must be a bit selfish to be an entrepreneur in somehow.
yeah,
At the same time,
yeah.
you had to look at outside the big box outside and see what the people you can help as well. But there is always day one. I founded 5 startups with EquityMatch. It is the number 5. It's going to be my last one. As I say, it's very tiring. So I'm crossing 50. Actually, already crossed 50. It's time to do the last one, and after I just want to invest and spending my time helping founders more than be myself a founder as I am today as well. But I remember my first day, the very much the first one when I started my first company. I was so excited, I was very worried, and I think the first 3 months I didn't sleep at all. Zero. It was an absolute disaster for me, having some kind of sleep at night. So, what was the feeling in your first day? Very much the
I think it was. Yeah, I think for me it was similar in the sense of it was quite stressful. I mean, it was at a time when we had a number of sort of big global deals going on, sort of multi-million-pound deals with some big retailers. We were tying together the contract with Bolt. We had sort of investors that we were raising money with. We had a sort of a license agreement that we were dealing with. So there was a lot of sort of big sort of contractual stuff, and didn't all happen on day one, but it was all brewing at the time. And I made the decision to leave P&G, sort of relocate the family from Geneva and back to London, and so we were doing all of that at the same time. So in the early stages, it was a real baptism of fire because it was kind of out of the comfort of a sort of big corporate. Not that a big corporate's easy or not stressful, but it was really into, oh, crap, this is like if one or some of these deals fall through, then the whole thing could sort of fall down. And so it was pretty stressful. And the cash burn in the early days, we made a lot of mistakes. We spent stuff that we shouldn't have done, and yeah, we ran out of money very quickly.
Can I, before moving to the next one, if today, based on your pretty big experience, you've been doing this for a while now, if you can give an advice, right, recommendation to founders when it come to burning cash, because I see so many forecasting revenue and spending money accordingly. Well, you don't know when you make money. You don't even know if you are going to make money one day. They run out of money after 6 months and they need to shut down the company because without cash, there is nothing you can do. So, what's your, if you can suggest something, if you can tell them, don't make this mistake, what can be?
Well, I think it's I mean it's the basics about just being very very disciplined on your costs and your cash spends. I mean, particularly if you raise a lot of money, there'll be a lot of people that will come after that money very quickly. Agencies and all these people pitching these ideas, and you feel like it's the whole you're sort of carried away in the momentum, and you think, oh, everything's just going to work, and you don't really, you sort of, well, I did anyway, went all in without a real sort of rainy day fund, and then suddenly it was like, oh, it's not quite working, and the money's sort of running out or almost gone. And I think the advice is, even if you are able to raise a lot of money, just be very, very disciplined with that, and be conservative on your outlook in terms of the revenue coming in, because in general, well, certainly in my experience, things always take a little bit longer than you think. It's a bit like sort of building costs. You budget for a renovation at 50,000, and it'll always cost probably double that, or at least 20, 50% more or something. It's similar, I think, with startups. There's a lot of unknown costs that you don't see, and typically the revenue does take a little bit longer to land.
In terms of life, what were the initial struggles in your life as an entrepreneur? Because you changed. You were employed, now you become an employee, an employer, and so the difference is huge.
Yeah, I think it's all the sort of it's really that added level of stress, I think, because suddenly the buck really does stop with you, and we weren't paying ourselves any money initially, so you've got sort of a business burn rate, and then you've got your own personal burn rate. We were using our savings and things to to keep things swinging along, and very quickly both those things were at sort of at difficult points, I guess. So I think that for me was the biggest change. It's just the heightened levels of stress. There was a freedom to it as well. I really enjoyed, I still do, the whole kind of being able to make different deals, do different things that you don't need to go and ask permission. You can just get on with things and make things happen. And you're sometimes, in the morning there'll be a disaster, in the afternoon it's champagne. It's that kind of roller coaster, and it is quite enjoyable sometimes.
It is. A founder life, it's an absolutely roller coaster, at least for the first 3-4 years.
Yeah.
There is nothing to do. As I said to all founders, there is no way you can be outside of your startup stage year 3. Forget, unless you have endless money in your account that you can go on for another 5-10 years without making even £1 in revenue. But it is a roller coaster. And I do believe it. This is why founders must have a huge discipline. They really, I'm not like going in the army, but pretty similar. So you must be extremely focused, because otherwise there's no way you can handle this up and down. It's very frustrating. Many days, it's just too much. It's seriously too much. But tell me more about your work-life balance. What has been the impact of being a founder in your private life?
I think the family definitely sort of suffers. So I've got two teenage boys, and I've got better at it. But in the early days, sort of working 7 days a week, and not being able to spend much time with the sort of the family. I think now I'm getting slightly better at it, but I'd say it's still, there are times you have to do stuff on the weekends or in the evenings, and and ultimately, I think it's just part and parcel, really, of a sort of a founder's life. There are those trade-offs, and maybe you're lucky and you can do everything in a 4-hour work week like Tim Ferriss or whatever it is, but it's in general it's fairly all encompassing. At least in my experience.
It does. I'm a big fan of routine. I have mine, and at least when I can, I try to keep doing every day the same. Not the same, of course. We can't do the same stuff every day, but wake up at the same time, go to sleep more or less the same time, try to eat at the same time, of course, when it's possible, because it keeps me in somehow gives clarity. I don't know, it makes my mind a bit clean, less confused. I don't know why, but I'm a big fan of this. Do you have any routine in your day to day?
And similar, I try to get up at a sort of a reasonably sort of early-ish time, I guess. I do a bit of sort of stretching and those kind of things, and yeah, I sort of I like to read in the morning and have a coffee, and I don't sort of rush in too quickly. And then yeah, I try to have like do some sort of exercise every day, so like a walk, or I play a bit of tennis, and I've been playing football recently, but I got injured, so I'm sort of off that at the moment. But yeah, that's my kind of routine.
Hey, being a founder is not easy at all. We already talked about many times. It's like a ride full of phases, very tough. Sometimes you smile, sometimes probably you cry. But did you have any time? I so many when you feel like I'm the most unqualified. Actually, maybe I'm not right. Okay, to be a founder, or maybe I'm not right to be a CEO of my company one day. Uh, is this now? I don't have anymore. But I remember when I started, this has been a questioning myself many times on this. Did you have you never had something similar?
No, I definitely experienced that sort of I don't know, it's imposter syndrome or whatever you label it. But I mean, I think the skill, particularly coming out of a corporate job, I mean, there's lots of stuff that the good corporates will teach you and give you lots of sort of skills and negotiation and selling skills, those kind of things, marketing skills. But there's the sort of I guess the range of knowledge and things that you need to be able to do as an entrepreneur, and you're stretched across all the different aspects, from sort of legal to manufacturing to just, I don't know, basic admin and stuff that you may not have been exposed to, and all of an accountancy and all these sorts of things that you've had probably much more support. So I've and because of the number of times that we've got it wrong, or I've got it wrong, that definitely leads to a bit of, can I actually do this, and am I the right person for this? And there is a that is a bit of a challenge, I'd say. And I wouldn't say I've fully sort of, we're not, we haven't sort of delivered on everything that we said we would yet. So I still feel like I'm on that journey, but hopefully we'll get there.
Maybe one day we'll finish.
Yes.
But in doing what you are doing, what do you enjoy the most in your day?
I think the bit that I really like is the sort of new business development, being able to sort of partner with different people, seeing sort of opportunities and being able to sort of take them on and do them, and that 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 flexibility to be able to come up with new ideas and just implement them. We came up with this one of this new business, which is a sort of running World Cup, for instance, which is this idea about getting people to giving people the opportunity to run for their country. And we launched that as a sort of an idea, sort of no marketing or anything behind it, and it's grown very quickly. We've now got an app. Got over 700,000 people signed up, and Bolt as well is helping and things with that. But it's kind of like, those sorts of things, I guess, in a big corporate world, you wouldn't necessarily have the opportunity to do. And that's what I sort of love about the, being an entrepreneur.
Me, I believe you had many difficult times. So during them, how do you handle yourself? How do you find uh, how recharging and restarting again? Do not give up, and always finding a way to motivate.
I think it's it changes a bit on a daily basis. I think it is, sometimes your energy's low, and it is really tough, and sometimes you just got to, for me anyway, I just have to sort of walk away and then come back to it. Or sometimes there's just stuff you've got to do, and you've got to sort of tough it out. I think when the crisis hit, I think it's sort of, for me, it's that sort of never waste a good crisis type attitude. I think there's, I remember when we went through COVID and suddenly like the world fell apart, and we had a sort of a clinic business, and that basically shut overnight, so nobody could go and visit it. We got no revenue. All of our medical customers that we supplied, all of those were shut, and it was like, revenue sort of went down by sort of 95% overnight, and it was like, this is bad. We're not going to. We didn't have huge cash reserves. We're not going to survive this. And I think, but actually coming out of it, because we were forced to make some fairly tough decisions and cut areas that we probably would have just kept going with. Actually, it kind of really sorted the business out in many ways, and we went much more, as I said before, like business to consumer. We actually grew significantly faster in the new model, and we wouldn't have had that without that sort of crisis. Even though we've been close to the wire many times, I think sometimes actually the down times are also sometimes the best times, because actually it does give you that opportunity to maybe think, okay, is this right, or is there a better way of doing it? And those moments can be very useful.
I mean, are you the only founder, or do you have a co-founder?
I'm basically the only founder. I did have a sort of a business partner, and but yeah, there are some other people now in the business as well who, but yeah, I was the sort of the main founder.
Yeah, I'm asking because sometimes there are founders, solo founders. They actually miss someone on their side, right or left. They can talk to, bring conversation, and finding some way out when a problem, or anyway finding solutions. Do you think? Have you ever thought having a co-founder with you, or you find yourself very comfortable, be just you?
Yeah, I mean, I did have a sort of co-founder, sort of business partner on the new venture, and that they ended up getting an opportunity that was paying them sort of sort of 9-figure type salaries, huge sort of job, and they went off to do that, and but I sort of miss it in many ways, because I think it's quite nice to be able to have sort of people to sort of bounce things off with. But it is what it is, I guess.
I mean, I done 5. I never had a co-founder with me. Sometimes maybe I thought, yes, I thought probably having one could help me, but anyway, that's fine. Yeah, I do believe you can be a solo co-founder and succeed very well without any problem, as you can be even 4 co-founders and be absolutely successful as well. Uh, Let me talk about what is less uh, pleasure, right? Which is failure. But we all face this problem. 95% of founders fail, maybe 5, if not even less, succeed. So we know failures there, and we know that 1 out of 3, probably they will even more. They will get there very soon, in a couple of years. So do you ever think about failure?
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of rear its head. I mean, I think that when you've got a big established business, you can place multiple bets, and if 1 or 2 of them don't work, it doesn't matter. I think one of the issues with a sort of founder type businesses is quite often you don't have the resources to make those multiple bets, or you're betting all on one particular avenue and things, and if it doesn't work, then then you're in trouble. And so I think you're generally, well, in my experience, been a lot closer to the wire. So so failure is always sort of a very potential, very close sort of friend or enemy, as it were, that can come out quite quickly. And I think that's I think it's a motivator as well. You don't want to fail, so you it helps you try and sort of and try, as I was sort of saying before, try and find ways of actually of staying alive and succeeding. But yeah, do think about failure.
Do you have any method to remove these thoughts from your mind, or you just go?
Um, For me, it is more about just realizing that I think you're a few steps further away from failure than you probably even think you are. There's always something you can do. I think the time that you will die basically is if you just stop and give up. And there's always a phone call. There's always something. There's you might have to sacrifice something. You might have to do something. But my experience to date, even though when we've been very very close to sort of going under, there's always something. As long as you keep moving, there's something you can do.
Uh, we talk a bit about your balance, but outside working, how do you spend your time?
I like to do lots of sports, so yeah, I like to play football, tennis, golf, go for a run, that kind of thing, and then just socializing with friends. I love food, I like cooking, that kind of thing. That's I'm not really massively into sort of the buying lots of things or that kind of stuff. I'm much more sort of enjoying experiences, traveling, that kind of thing with sort of friends,
But do you try
friends
to
and family.
balance? Do you try to balance your pride and uh, working life, or you are the kind of 15, 16 hours per day working a very little to the rest?
I used to be more of that. I've got better at doing slightly less hours. I still work probably more than the average, but um, I've had to. I mean, partly is also just I think your health can deteriorate quite quickly if you don't, give yourself enough time to have breaks and eat well, stay healthy, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I mean, in your journey as a founder, where did you find the in a startup life? I'm talking, let's say, from the starting to the scaling and so on. Where did you find yourself most challenged?
Um, I think for me, it's always been about the business model and getting that right. It's it can be very it can be business models are very sort of subtle in my opinion. They can be you could be just half a click out and it won't work, and then you click it and suddenly it'll work. But for me, that's always been the main sort of challenge on the business is just figuring out what is the what's the problem I guess you're trying to solve. What's sort of the product solution? How do you communicate that? What channel do you do that through? And those kind of things. So for me, that's the sort of the I guess the main challenge.
I mean, I suppose you had many lessons, as many of us, actually everyone, got a lesson in life unless you do not understand that the lesson was there. And what's your best lesson today in your life? I mean, in your life as a whole, and of course as an entrepreneur.
Um, I think for me, it's about being ambitious, going for sort of big goals, and when we started, like what rights did we have to get somebody like Usain Bolt to come on board? At the times the sort of the biggest athlete. We looked at a list of people saying, who would we best want if we could have anybody in the world? Who would we want to sort of help support this business and things? And his name was right at the top of the list. He was fastest guy in the world. It was just coming into the Olympics. He was the guy. And we were trying to create that almost that sort of Michael Jordan that did with Nike, and that's kind of partly what we're sort of still doing. But I think you don't get that without being bold in your approach and not and sort of. And I think that's for me that's part of what being an entrepreneur is. It's about being able to sort of make things happen that normally you'd say, well, you can't do that. It's not. That's not. You need to sort of break some sort of boundaries or break some new ground, if you like. But you have to start with that ambition, um, and you'd be surprised about what you can achieve. I think.
I mean, how important is ambition? I do believe it is at the very beginning a lot. And but in your opinion, founders, how ambitious they must be, and how you describe yourself, because there are, if you talk to investors, right, when you talk to them, they will tell you founders must be big-headed, must be very confident. At the same time, must be a good listener, a good person to teaching, and they really don't match that much. A big-headed founder is very difficult. They will listen to you. They become very
Yeah.
stubborn. They want to do whatever they want. And that's the reality. Okay, we dream what many times is not possible to achieve. How do you describe yourself, and how important is ambition for you?
Um, I mean, for me, it is important because I think, you know, well, I guess it's a very individual thing, isn't it? It depends what you want to sort of achieve. I mean, partly why we're doing this was to try and, achieve something great, achieve something ambitious, and that's part of the message that we've also given to the investors and why they've invested. Frankly, they weren't, if they wanted to invest in something which was going to give them a, you know, I don't know, sort of 20% return or something, they'd have, bought a blue chip stock or, put it in a bank. Frankly, they're investing in the idea in terms of that we can, deliver a very big return. And I think that's kind of what we're in the game for as well. And it's not just about the, material side of that. It's really about, I think, being able to achieve something significant. And I think that's what motivates me.
I mean, if you have, for sure you have, what's your greatest wish for you as an entrepreneur? And of course,
I, th-
as a human being.
I think to be able to sort of deliver on the business plan and the commitments that we sort of set out. We have very ambitious goals, and for me, that's my biggest wish as an entrepreneur is to sort of deliver on that. Probably sell or float the company, and get a good return for the investors, and kind of feel like, okay, we did that, we achieved that. We've made the world a little bit of a better place in our own little way. Helped a lot of people along the way, and sort of, and I guess sort of got a proven sort of return and success from it.
I want to close with recommendation, which means all the experience you have going through your life as an entrepreneur. If you can give very strong, generally talking recommendation to all the founders are watching this podcast, what can be?
I think it would be, if you're sort of be you have to be very realistic. You have to, well, for me, you have to be ambitious, but you also have to be, very realistic to yourself, and in terms of what the burn rate, the costs, and just be really sort of detailed on that, and be, be ultra conservative internally, and how you plan things, so you're not caught short. But I guess externally, you can be going for the big goals and trying to do all those things, but I think you've got to be very disciplined and conservative internally. So there's always a sort of a cushion there. So if everything isn't quite working as you want it, then you're not at the wall. Because I think the problem with that is it's not just that you might go under or things, is you end up having to make choices or do things, sacrifices, or change direction, or try and get some extra money in here that's not necessarily that strategic, or sign a bad deal. And there's all those sorts of things that you end up spending longer to unwind. And that's, again, like going back to that sort of the corporate world. I think corporates, in a way, it's like if you're really, really rich, it's very easy to make money out of a sort of a housing crisis or something. You've got the opportunity, you can see it. Whereas if you're poor and you've got little opportunity, it's so much harder. And I think it's a similar sort of thing between entrepreneurs. You generally don't have huge resources, so getting a bit of a gap, I think, is really, a bit of cushion is really important.
I mean, it is so complicated to balance, right? You must be ambitious, you must be aggressive, and having very little fear. But at the same time, you must fear something. You had to be cautious. You need to balance the book. It's complicated. It's very, very complicated. And I do believe even founders who raise so much money, sometimes having so much money can be even wrong because you
Mm.
don't challenge us yourself, and also you can make so many mistakes, but you do not understand them because there's so much cash that you can burn regardless.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
like of Tesla, the like of many today in the market, although Elon Musk is doing extremely well now. Uh, in terms of be cautious, be at the same time be aggressive. What, and after I'm closing, what do you think are the best characters of a founder that can succeed? Which are the main characteristics they must have to increase the chance of getting there one day?
I think there's the I think you need to be resilient. I think you need to be able to, sell and communicate well, and um, uh, so you can get your ideas across. But I think it's the resilience, the ability to be able to sort of see opportunities, and not worry too much if things don't work. Be able to sort of get back up and try something else, or figure out a way, solve those problems. I would say that, yeah, there's quite a few there, aren't there? But I'd say those are the main ones.
Nick, thank you so much for coming to the Live with Founder. It's been an absolutely pleasure, and hope I can have another chat with you again later on. And I do wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Max. Yeah, thank you, Max. It was great being on. Thank you.